But without further ado, let's get into it. So this is my 1979 Honda CBX. This bike was fully restored over the past 2 years, maybe 3 years. I've just been piecing it together, trying to get all the best components I can. I wanted to replace everything I could from scratch, and you can see that there's no stone left unturned on this bike. Brand new tires, brand new 630 chain. A lot of stuff has been repainted, but a lot of stuff is the original finish. This has the original frame paint. You can see it has like the helmet holder sticker. It was a remarkable 7,000 original mile bike. I can show you guys. Original speedo, tachometer. Tank has been painted. The whole tin set's been painted. Forks have been gone through. Heavier springs, heavier oil. Obviously, this is going to be a wheelie machine once it's all up and running correctly. Brakes have been gone through. That's the original caliper finish, which is honestly remarkable. I did upgrade the brake lines. They were original and just starting to dry crack. And I figure that's not a terrible thing to do. Get new brake lines on this thing, fresh tires on it, make it able to handle the power. As I said, it's been fully repainted. The engine was pulled out of the chassis. The cases were split. Has all new bearings in it. All new bearings, gaskets, and seals. This engine is somewhat stock on the inside, though. You're probably wondering, like, isn't that crazy to do? Leave a stock engine CBX like this, especially with the turbo kit? But it's very tricky to source parts for these. And when you can source them, they're incredibly expensive. I could have spent over $10,000 just building the engine on this. And truthfully, I wanted to make this a street bike. This isn't going to be like a track monster, drag bike, anything crazy. I just wanted to run a couple pounds of boost, have a lot of fun, and have something completely different than anyone else out there with a CBX. I've owned a naturally aspirated one. I had one with a DG 6-into-1 pipe, and it just sounded incredible. And I wanted to one-up what I did before by building this bike. I was able to secure this in really upstate New York, near the Canadian border. It was in Amish country. There was people in horse and buggies where I went to go pick this up. This is a true barn find. It was leaning up in a barn for nearly 30 years. The guy had a bunch of vintage Jaguars, bunch of niche, weird old cars, and this was one of the bikes he had. So it did need a full once over, but now that it's done, it just looks stunning. It's incredible. What a piece of work. What a work of art and a piece of engineering by Honda. So I guess we can go into the turbo kit now. Starting with the exhaust, it has a true 6-into-2-into-1 header on it. Here you can see the exhaust. They're just starting to bronze up a little bit. I spilled a little bit of oil on that one, so I'll have to shine her up, but that's no big deal. But yeah, you can see it's 6, so 3-into-2, or 3-into-1, another 3-into-1. Those merge, so it's a 6-into-2, and they merge into a Y into 1 down there. This pipe comes up, goes around, and feeds the turbocharger. The turbocharger on this is custom made. You can see this is a new Garrett turbocharger. This is a Garrett GT2860 RS that's been modified with a carbon seal so that you could run it in a draw-through capacity. The wastegate is a TurboSmart Compgate 45, which I vapor blasted to give it that raw kind of finish. All the exhaust pipes on this bike are completely custom made. The header was made by Dave Dunlop at Fast By Me Turbochargers. The intake manifold was made by him as well, and I'll show you guys more of that on the other side. And here's the other side of the bike where you can see a little bit better of a view. But this is the trickiest part to make for a CBX turbo draw-through kit is the intake manifold. There's nothing short of maybe 100 hours into just this intake manifold, getting the bends correct, the welds correct, everything perfect on it. I polished it a little bit myself, not to a mirror finish, but just a nice clean finish on it. While we're on this side, you can see the 0.6 AR. This is a true Garrett GT 2860. The turbo conversion was done by Carbon Seal Turbos, and I believe they're out of Arkansas. They made the center section for me, custom. The carb on it is a S&S Shorty, S&S Super E. This had to be internally modified several ways to work with the setup. Now, one of the issues I had with this bike was I couldn't get enough fuel at idle with this carburetor on it. If I could point to it right there. But yeah, that was the biggest issue I had when I first got the bike running, was I couldn't get it to idle. It would never have enough fuel. I'd have to run it with the choke on when I initially built it. So to get around that, I actually had to modify the body of the carb internally to let more fuel in at idle. So essentially what I did is I figured out how every circuit works in this carburetor. You could see that there's a Phillips screw right here where there was normally a plug. This is your intermediate jet. So if you were on the bottom side of this carburetor, you'd see this passage right here is your intermediate jet passage. And it also feeds your pilot screw right here. This determines how much fuel you're getting at idle, your pilot screw. So I tried swapping intermediate jets. It would make the bike too rich in the mid-range when I put a bigger intermediate jet on it. So so I started with getting the correct mid-range on it, the correct intermediate jet in it. And once it would cruise around fine, I was like, okay, well now we got to figure out how to make this thing idle. It's far too lean. So I actually micro-drilled this passage right here. This is a fuel screw, so the more you turn it out, the more fuel goes into the carburetor. And so I internally modified it. I basically just micro-drilled the body of the carburetor to let more fuel in, and that's how I got around getting this thing to idle. Going back to this side of the motorcycle, the dump was made in-house by me and a buddy of mine. It was custom designed. It's a very tight spacing right here to get something to work. Initially, I had a dump that came here and just went straight down, but you can see, obviously, you have your shifter foot peg here, and a lot of you guys commented on the short that I made, like, you're just going to burn your foot off, and like, why would you ever do that? Well, that was made before the bike was ever together fully. I didn't have the foot pegs, the footrest on it. I didn't have any of that stuff on it when we made the initial exhaust for it. So once we got it all together, we're like, well, there's not really like a lot of room. Like maybe we could run it forward and out, but it was kind of getting a little bit crazy. And I think I would have just burned my knee if I had anything short of a full exhaust on it or something large like this. So we slowly hand built this exhaust for this setup, and it came out pretty trick. It's 3 inches off of the turbocharger, and then it goes into a 3-inch oval right here. So this is the same diameter pipe as this, but it's essentially just squished down. And you can see you get a lot more foot peg ground clearance. I'm still going to space this foot peg out and probably make a heat shield for this area right here just so I don't burn my leg. But it's not terrible right now. I've ridden a lot worse. Here's a side profile of the bike. Going back to the engine on it, like I said, this engine is essentially stock. I gapped the rings on it. I did some oiling mods to allow more oil pressure and oil volume into the engine, but it is pretty much stock otherwise. The clutch has been beefed up, obviously to hold more power. This is going to be making probably 25 to 30% more power than they would stock. And I'm also running a Dyna S ignition, Dyna coils, Taylor plug wires. We're running stock timing though. We're not retarding the timing at all. When you start retarding the timing on something like this, you actually end up introducing more heat out of the exhaust and more heat into the head, which isn't a good thing. That's contrary to popular belief. Everyone's like, well, for every 2 pounds of boost you run, you want to retard the ignition 1 degree. But once you start running 10 pounds of boost and you're retarding your ignition by 5 degrees, like the amount of heat you're building in your engine is actually, it's not worthwhile. And people have this idea where if you just retard the timing more, you can run more boost on pump gas and you're gonna make more power, but that's not true. I've tested this myself on several different applications on the dyno, and found that that's not actually the case. You're going to make more power running close to stock ignition timing and less boost than you ever would by running like 10, 15 pounds of boost and retarding the timing by 5 degrees. And you're going to have something that's less reliable if you do that. So just something to keep in mind for you guys. But now that we did a brief overview of this motorcycle, let's fire it up and see what it sounds like. Got the idle set a little high right now. Starting to idle down. Oh, what a nice low-key sound. Tachometer hooked up right now before someone comments. Wish I had someone to record me, but man, this is a mean machine. Stay tuned for the dyno video. That's coming up pretty soon. Give it one more rev for you. It's starting to rain now, and I did fully restore this bike, so I'm going to take it inside. But thank you guys for watching. Like I said, if you want to see more content like this, more content is coming. I'm going to try to upload every week. I can't promise, but at least a couple times a month, I want to get a full-length video for you guys out there. If you want to see more like this, obviously like, subscribe.